This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
We have a name, Tyler Robinson, the suspect now in custody in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. A press conference taking place earlier this morning, and we will go to that shortly so you get a chance to watch it and absorb everything that said today from my director Kash Patel and others on that. But we're going to go right now. Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, former chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, joining us. You were on Fox and Friends this morning just before the president and just before they made the big announcement. And then I know you were there also as they were breaking down that presser. What was your initial reactions here to this news?
You know, my initial reaction from get-go to now is high tempo of really coordinated effort. And I was really originally given a lot of that ability to have that tempo to the fact that I consistently been saying that this individual, Tyler, now as we know his name, was planned out, but horrible at execution. You know, he just didn't have the reps to pull this off. So he left a lot of data prints along the way that led to him. But then as I'm listening and watching the presser again today, and I watched the one last night, which was clear, concise, and to the point without taking questions. That's the first one that really struck me, Tony, because throughout this entire thing, you know, as we baseline human behavior and look for deviations, which I do so that we can assess what is, the thing that really struck me from the beginning was this horrendous assassin was fitting a pretty standard profile you and I have seen for the last bunch of years, right? And so nothing was really standing out here. It's going to just be typical as usual. And then part of that process has always been us, and me especially, looking at pressers. Because I'm assessing whether they got, excuse my language, got their shit together or not. Is there leadership? Is it all over the place? You know, because we see that so many times for the cases that we cover, we have a crap show. Everyone's kind of posturing, battling for who's going to say what, and it's kind of disjointed. We get some details, we're asking questions, but this one had kind of a different flavor from the beginning, and I was thinking it's because of all the data we're getting, right? So they made it, you know, the culprit made it easy on them. But then last night it shifted. So I'm on last night with News Nation last night on Leland's show and watching the presser live and giving a commentary. And what really struck me was everyone had an expectation, especially with Bongino going out there and Patel going out there, and they were there part of the presser, that it was going to be a longer presser, that they had a big announcement to make. And then they didn't. And then I said to myself, all right, so what's different? And it still seemed clear, still seemed concise. I'm watching the nonverbals of people around each other being very supportive and no animosity towards each other, which was kind of striking to me in a good way. And then when they didn't take questions, and the governor, who's been very articulate these days, very clear, concise, very detail oriented, giving you enough to not like you and I covered, you know, Arkansas, you know, that thing with that horrible lack of information, you know, also Kohlberger's initial thing with no information, people running amok. I mean, this was very, very specific, controlled enough to keep you satisfied, but wanting more, right? And then when he didn't take the questions and left the stage, I was like, what caused that? And so that's when it kind of resonates with me that, and I've been holding this, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but there's a lot of cases where they're getting close and they just need a bump, kind of like, you know, so let's think in terms of the Donna Adelson case, right? They bumped her to get a reaction. A lot of times, or in some cases, when they give pressers, it's to get a reaction from the suspect. And so last night when I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, so what's one of the reasons why someone wouldn't do this is because it might not just be to provide information, which is kind of limited, but enough. It was to spur the suspect or someone around him into action. And so let's then back off and see what happens. And no kidding, that's exactly what happens. It spurred the next part of this, which was really striking me. And that's what the press conference today, which I took away from it. More of the same. We have an individual that has been radicalized online, you know, hate, you know, objectifying a human being by all the etchings, you know, probably a life arc of escalating radicalization, violence from people around him. But here was what really struck me first was the father turned him in. And I say to myself, that's a deviation, right? there's been other opportunities from cases that we've covered for family members, friends to turn someone in, and they haven't. Just look at Koberger. Lots of red flags waving in the air, but no turn-in. And this isn't a bad family, but there's something that's not quite there yet, right? But in this case, a father turns him in. The fact that a father could turn him in because it was a family priest or a family friend that did it. And also he apparently confessed to a friend or alluded to a friend that he did it. And that's kind of ringing to some notoriety, criminal notoriety. Look at me, narcissistic moment for the individual. But it also, throughout this, what is striking me, Tony, is we got, and Stacey, I'm sorry, we have some healthy relationships in here.
Yeah.
We have enough healthy relationships that people are communicating. And so we're getting communication at the crazy level of where the bad guy's at, enough that's going to compel people to take action. And then most notably, we're getting healthy relationships at the leadership prosecution level of let's find the bad guy.
Yeah.
I think they said 36 hours, 11,000 leads, and they got them. And when they're presenting this information, so let's put our politics aside. This is the gift that will keep on giving that Charlie Kirk just gave us. And the governor said this in a moment. This is a defining moment, and what are we going to do with it? I was reestablished and reaffirmed that I have a possibility to have some good faith and trust in our system of safety and law enforcement in our country based on what just happened. That's the first time that you and I have covered a case yet where I've said, that was done really well.
Yeah.
So that's my initial take on everything. I know it's kind of a long opening monologue on it, but I started shifting away from the subject that was just kind of average, the typical thing we've seen, to what was different was everyone else. I mean, that was pretty profound.
Well, and this man that they arrested, the 22-year-old, I mean, until this week, I mean, his life on the surface anyway, it looked pretty ordinary. Yeah. If you look at his Facebook page, which, everybody at this moment in time, when we're recording this all literally has just gone down. So if you're watching this a little bit later and you're like, well, there's a variation here from what you're saying, this is the information we have as of this moment. Things do tend to shift. So before the keyboard warriors want to go nuts, it's here's where we're at. But we're seeing pictures of family vacations, proud parents posting about his achievements, childhood photos. He was dressed up as Donald Trump for Halloween several years ago. I believe 2017 is the date on it. And now he's a man accused of firing that single shot at Kirk's rally. Normal kid is what a lot of people are saying when they just look at it. There has been some accounts I've been hearing coming out. And again, these are third-hand, second-hand accounts. I believe I did hear this was on Fox News as well. I think it was right before you were on or right after, one of the two, where it was accounts from a family member when they were together at a recent gathering. I don't recall which, but it was something to the effect of that the shooter had brought up Charlie Kirk in conversation, but nothing to the extent of I'm going to go hurt him in some way, shape, or form, but more so his feeling he's spreading hate is what he was quoted essentially as saying to the family member at a gathering, but nothing to the level I think that anyone would suspect this. Anyway, I think that's going to be the weird part of this. This is not some terrorist coming in from another country. This does not appear to be, your typical person that, is a big gun enthusiast or things like that. Clearly, he knows how to use a weapon. There are some pictures of him using or holding one. I'm going to guess probably a household where grew up with them, as many people do, but certainly had the ability to take a shot from that far away and hit a target. It does show some skill. That's not just a super lucky shot there.
Well, his dad was in law enforcement, so I imagine there was a culture. I don't want to say a culture of gun use, but it was commonplace. I imagine Dad had to practice quite frequently. I just wonder what goes through a parent's mind when they sit back and go, "I'm going to have to do one of the hardest things I've ever had to do and turn in my own child."
Yeah, pure devastation.
Yeah.
Absolute devastation. And to your point, Stacey, on the firearms, maybe I only say maybe because apparently I only found that my daughter is 27. She's a nurse. And it was only in the last couple of years that I find out that I think when she was a senior in high school, when she finally, like, one of her friends knew that I was an FBI agent, and they came over to visit or something. They started asking about, where I keep my gun, or, it wasn't innocent. They weren't looking for it. They, just had questions about my weapon I carried as an FBI agent. My daughter goes, "Oh, he doesn't carry a gun."
What?
My daughter had no idea,
Yeah.
because I'm not a gun guy either, but I had to carry a gun. I was actually a firearms instructor, so it depends on the family. But to your other comment, that's got to be an absolute devastation, and we don't know yet about this other background. We're seeing, when we're looking on social media, and this is to the point of everything that goes on. We kept hearing this thing, radicalization online, right? And so because I was in the FBI during 9/11, I'm slightly older, I'll turn 57 soon. My idea of online radicalization, I'm thinking ISIS jihadist.
Yes.
But here's what's changed, guys, because actually I looked this up, because this is, again, when we look for patterns, here's a new pattern. I kept seeing this. We keep seeing this because we've covered so many mass shootings recently. Every single one of them is saying online radicalization. So I actually asked my grok, define for me what we're seeing with this term online radicalization. And actually, I wrote it down. And it's basically this, and this is why it really fits this pattern. It is basically our human behavior. We're finding groups and organizations to connect with because we're failing to do it in real life. Remember, our evolution, we are seeking to make human connections in person. You're not going to erase hundreds of thousands of years of our evolution as a species, as we said last show, in 10 years of the evolution of social media, right? Sure. It just isn't going to happen. And so we're seeking these connections. And then to your point, Stacey, when all you're seeing on social media, which they're thinking they can substitute for in person, they're seeing the 5-second highlight reel of someone that they can't match because they know their own reality. What do they feel? They feel lesser than. They feel not as good as. And then when you can throw a little bit of bullying, a little bit of disenfranchised, something doesn't go my way, and we don't know how to problem solve, which is the other huge thing that we're having as a culture. Lack of problem solving, feeling not connected. That's where the radicalization happens, because now we have groups online that can help you feel good about, being part of a group that's disenfranchised, and then they desensitize them towards violence, and we have that escalation of feeling like a wound collecting victim. And then what happens is we get that escalation. We then get our own negative confirmation bias by the things we see in the world, like Charlie Kirk. It doesn't matter if it's Charlie Kirk, Bill Maher, I don't care who it is, Tony, you, Stacey, you, me. If you're looking to find bad in someone, you will find bad. Yes. If you're looking to find good, you will find good. You just have to decide on what kind of bias you want to give yourself, or what can you do to eliminate it altogether. So when you have a negative confirmation bias, Charlie Kirk was an excuse for what he was going to do no matter what, because he is radicalized to objectify a human being, take out violence on someone, and then here's what we don't know yet, but if we're playing the law's averages, there will be a triggering moment that happened to him from his perspective that caused him to go over the line and say, I'm going to do this. And criminal notoriety, hands down, I think it's always been part of these people, because otherwise, if it was really about Charlie Kirk, he didn't like his message, he thought he's poisoning the world and everything like this, why do it in such a huge public venue and then brag about it to someone, look what I did? Unless it was all about you and your broken brain issues. Yeah. Boom.
All roads lead to narcissism, as we say. This
there you go. There's the drop the mic. All roads lead to narcissism. All bad shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Yeah.
It feels like we need some hobbies. Have we lost
other
our
than
mind?
this? Yeah. Yes. I mean, it comes down to that. You're right. I mean, no problem solving skills, and I think having a hobby does not mean getting super amped up and angry about something online. That's not a hobby. No. That's not healthy. either. And no matter what it is, one may be getting angry. And what I want to ask you about with this, because this is someone who obviously got angry enough about something that they didn't like about Charlie Kirk, and acted. We're seeing this so easily happening right now with so many people. I've seen so many messages in the last 2 or 3 days, like literally like text messages and things like that from people or listeners sending me pictures, accounts of, I have a family member over here that feels so angry right now this way or that way, and rightfully so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being very angry and very upset about this whole, I mean, I haven't slept well the last couple of days. This has been very stressful mentally, but people are very angry and very upset for different reasons, and I feel like so many don't have a healthy venue on how to release that anymore. And it seems so many, with the lack of problem solving skills, want to go out there and hurt someone or hurt something. And I think a lot of people don't even know exactly what that is or what that means at this moment in time, but that rage is there, and that rage is overriding a lot of people's common sense right now. And that's where I think it's so dangerous as to where we're at this second in time.
Yeah, if you find yourself in that situation, again, not a licensed mental health professional by any means, but if you find yourself in those situations or know someone in those situations, the first thing you need to do is get out, touch some grass, and go for a walk. Do something healthy. Read something healthy. Yeah. We are what we consume, and if we consume unhealthy things, you're going to be unhealthy, and that doesn't matter whether you ingest it through your mouth or you take it in through your ears. It has the same exact effect on our brain. You know, there's a great book out there by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Body Keeps a Score. And the things that we ingest affects us massively. You know, just for example, we go on sidetrack sometimes, don't we?
That's good. That's good. We need it. See, we need it.
The Tao Te Ching sits next to me all day long.
Yep.
This other book I absolutely loved, I've quoted numerous times, Who Will Cry When You Die? You know, and for, you know, I've seen some really horrendous things that like we all have with people posting about the death of a father and a husband, and how they've said, and even when they're not trying to say vile things, they're saying things in a way that made me think, geez, I hope no one ever says that about me when I die. You know, so everyone take a deep breath, take a pause, and ask yourself, you know, what we're doing, is it creating a healthy, strong relationship or not? I mean, we are literally put on this sphere. We're on this sphere, whether we're put here or not, whatever belief system, you know, we're on this sphere to learn and interact in a healthy way, because all the problems that are facing us as a species cannot be solved alone. It can only be solved with healthy, strong relationships. I know it's my mantra that I keep going back to, but when doing so, in order to do so, we have to understand the people around us. We have to understand what drives them, what motivates them. And to your point, to get a healthy to get a healthy hobby, first you got to get outside the echo chamber of negativity. It is the hardest thing. You know, half the species can be broken down into wound collecting victims, and the other half is problem solvers. If you find yourself or know someone that is struggling because they're surrounding themselves and see themselves being victimized, and they see themselves as the world's against them, or you feel yourself your way, I'm not arguing with your context. Your context is what it is. What I challenge you to do is talk to someone who doesn't think that way. It's going to annoy the living piss out of you, because being around someone positive when you're not will annoy you.
Yes.
I know. And you know why I know? I'm one of those positive people. I've been told, Robbie, you're annoying the hell out of me. But here's what's going to do. The leakage of that positive frame of mind. It's not like this. It's just like everything. This isn't going from 0 to 100, from unhealthy to healthy. You're going to start the data points when you're going to start moving that rudder to the ship, and you're going to go from 0 to like 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour, and you're going to start shifting. And this is just assessing, with hopefully a good loving critic in your life, who and what are the healthy things in my life, and who or what are the unhealthy. And now granted, in some of our cases, if we eliminate all the unhealthy, we might be left with nothing today. And that's okay for now, in the moment, because then we can go, and there are healthy online things.
Yes.
We talk about cases here, which can be very dark and horrible, but we Mr. Positive, I will always find what we can do about it. We always talk about that. This is what we can do to move forward from this. This is what we can do to see healthier things. The glass half full thing. So there's ways that we can do that, and that's why I think it is a watershed moment. We can either continue down the path of crazy and keep predictable things that we're seeing in all these cases, or we're going to start seeing a better trend. Wouldn't that be great? We actually get these cases when they pop up. They'll keep popping up. We're a species that keeps doing these things, but we're going to start seeing resolutions faster. Because what keeps things moving faster? How do crimes get resolved faster? When healthy people are working them. When healthy people are around the bad guy. When healthy people are working law enforcement. When we don't have things like Delphi, where we're constantly questioning what the hell was that? Or in the Karen Reed case, guilty and not guilty. I don't care. The law enforcement people up there were abysmal. So when we can start getting rid of that, things might start getting a little bit more positive. Anyway.
Well, what I found interesting too about this account, and I have it here in front of me. This was actually said at the presser today. Quote, investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson's who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident at which Robinson came to dinner prior to the September 10th attack, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about what they didn't, or why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. That's the quote that was in the presser today. What my point on that is, we tend to, because we're very tribal and more tribal than ever before, when someone expresses their viewpoint on something, if it's not necessarily aligned with yours, a lot of times there's not a lot of inquisitiveness that goes on to the other side. It's just okay, see you later. I'm going to go over here and go back to my echo chamber. And I know that that's over there, but I don't even want to have a dialogue. I don't want to understand why you feel this way, and they don't want to understand why you feel that way. Back and forth. It goes completely both ways in whatever opinion anyone has. And it happens in families. As we have so many families where it's like this. It happens with friend groups. There's so many polarization things where people are breaking away from each other because of the opinions that we have. We can't seem to figure out a way to hear each other. If we could do more of that in our own lives, of hearing each other's opinions and maybe temping that down and realizing, I don't have to hate the other person over here for having a different viewpoint on something. I feel like there's a whole culture a whole generation rather, that's been brought up where that is the culture. This guy's 22 years old. I would say most of his life, our culture has been so tribal that in no way, shape, or form is I'm making any sort of an excuse for a man like this, but I'm telling you, you have a generation of people that are extremely tribal that are coming into their own now, and it's scary. But I think you are going to have a lot more of this where it is so ingrained in people of being, this is my side, and this is the only way. I think stronger than we've seen in any generation.
And they don't know any different at this time. This is all they've known for probably the last, I would say, 10 years. Dare I say 10 years?
They've been born, really. Since they can remember life. I mean, this is a 22-year-old. This is a kid, basically.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so, like I was saying, it feels like this way of thinking of this way or that way. It is diametrically, maybe that's the wrong word here, but it is so ingrained in some of these young people. I don't know how you turn it around, because this is just how they've been conditioned. Not everybody, but a good deal, and it's not always on extreme political things. It can be on almost anything. So,
as a species, we're always going to be tribal.
Yeah,
we're genetically coded for. We evolved as a species because of our tribalism. We also evolved because of our ability, as Noah Harari says in Sapiens, because we had the ability to gossip and tell stories. And it's going to make us tribal, and that's okay. But we've always been tribal. We're always going to be tribal. We're not going to get rid of the tribalism. What's currently missing, and this is where people, and I'll say people like Charlie, because Bill Maher does exactly the same thing. I think those are two of my favorite people, not because I agree with them, but because of how they engage. And what they do is this: we fail and we fall into these traps when we lack curiosity. That's it. One of the greatest human beings that I speak about frequently, because he's a great example of, I've never met a human being yet. And for those watching and listening, ask yourself this: have you heard of the word and the man Leonardo da Vinci?
Yes.
Yes.
He's a mutant ninja turtle, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you think about, now I do these deep thought process, and as Tony gave me a great compliment the other day, just being a historical guy. So then ask yourself, when I was reading his biography, I was like, why does everyone know the name Leonardo da Vinci? And why do you hear nothing negative about Leonardo da Vinci? Think about it. So here's a man who was gay in the 1400s. Mm-hmm. In his country at the time, because it was constantly fluctuating. You talk about violence against man. He lived in it. It was illegal to be gay. You'd be stoned for being gay. He was accused of being gay 2 to 3 times, of having sodomy with another man. Acquitted each time. You know why? Healthy, strong relationships. Based upon what? He was actively, non-judgmentally curious. He didn't judge you. He wanted to understand you. Mm-hmm. And so that's what Charlie, and again, people like Charlie, because there's a lot of people like this, was modeling this way of, hey, here's my belief system. And instead of just absorbing what I'm seeing in a 5-second highlight reel on TikTok of what I believe and then just regurgitating rhetoric, he understood very, very clearly and could articulate very, very clearly what he stood for. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of religion in there. There's a lot of things in there. And a lot of people aren't going to understand that or agree with that. But here's what. Now you understand him. Mm-hmm. And so all he was doing with other people was, as you spewed rhetoric at him, he would ask you discovery questions. Articulate why you believe in that. And what was happening was, some people could, most people couldn't. Because he forced people to think and understand, here's who my tribe is. And I think people like Tony and Bill Maher, Kirk and Bill Maher, where all they're doing is have people do a deep thought process of understanding who you are and why you believe what you believe. And then that's your tribe. Yeah. And now you can be curious about the other tribes and see where you align. And here's where we all align. Mm-hmm. We all want a better place for our offspring, for our families and friends, for those that we leave behind after us. Yeah. And so that's what I think was really amazing. That's missing in this tribalism is when people lose curiosity, that's when it goes downhill.
Yeah. And the ability to listen to each other and not just have your voice heard and get that little, dopamine hit. Okay, I got what I wanted to say is out there. Great. But listen to what the other side is saying too. And you can disagree. You can be diametrically opposed to what the other side is saying. Yeah. But screaming over each other doesn't fix anything. And I just find it ironic of making that argument and then people arguing about the argument. It's like, let's just listen to each other.
And I'm sorry to say this, and I interrupt you, Tony, but here's because I wasn't born doing this. Very few people are, because, for our survival at a very young age, we're taught how to judge others because judging others teaches us how to be safe. Then all of a sudden at a certain age, we got to start learning how to not judge others if we want to make relationships with other people. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's kind of an evolution of us as a human being as we hit maturity. But what happened to me in the Bureau and the FBI, which gave me these lifelong reps that really resonate with me, do you not think that I had to interview people? And I know I've told you before the story, interview people that had done horrendous things. Think about the cases we cover. There's going to be someone that is going to be interviewing, what's his name? Tyler, who just killed an innocent man who didn't do harm to anyone else except spew his thoughts and opinions to the world. And some people could say it's harmful or not. That parts matter, but didn't do violence to another human being. And there's going to be an officer that's interviewing him that most likely feels a supreme abhorrent distaste for, incongruent morals, ethics, does not agree with any choices this individual just made with what he's done with his life. Mm-hmm. But what's his goal? If his goal is to inspire Tyler to confess to what he did and spill the beans on everything, or in other cases where we've covered things like Steven Stearns, that the horrendous things against Maddie Soto. If you're going to interview people like that or taking advantage of kids, if you're going to sit and judge, shields up. Now, I'm not saying you agree, but if you need to make that connection to inspire someone to want to share the information that's going to be pertinent to saving other people, to protecting other people, to understand and give closure to families that need to understand your motive, all these things, so we can save the criminal justice system millions of dollars because you confessed and you plea out or something rather than going through this entire process. You're going to be found guilty anyway. It's a hard thing to overcome. You just have to understand what that life arc from them was, not for the point of agreeing with it, but the point to understand it so I can communicate with you, to understand your context, so that I can walk that mile in your shoes, so I can understand and make that connection to inspire you to take the action that is in the best interest of the public at large.
Yeah, I mean, it's about communicating. It's about being human with one another once again. It feels that, I mean, this has separated us from each other more than anything else, and it's all coming to roost. I feel like where people feel very helpless right now. They feel very isolated, even though we're more connected than ever before. But people are self-isolating into their echo chambers, and then they get this way so amped up that they don't know how to handle things in any sort of productive way. No problem solving skills, again, because the lack of interpersonal relationships. What would you say to people out there right now? I mean, we know we're in a tinderbox. His dad is the one who was able to calmly talk to the man who is the suspect right now. I mean, that's where it's sitting as of this second, and turn him in. There's a lot of people out there right now, and I'm not saying go turn in your family members. I think more so, how about everybody just starts talking more to their family members again? What's going on in your life? Why are you feeling this way or that way? Whatever it is. Maybe someone's having a good day. You'll get a good one. I'm great. You're going to get something like, it's troubling me. Listen to them. Help, and you don't have to agree with them at the end of the day or adopt their politics or this or that, but just knowing, hey, there's a person over here who listens. We used to have those dynamics within a lot of our families, and you could, at the end of the day, not even know what the person's politics were, but you knew if you wanted someone to listen to you and be a loving critic. We used to have a lot more of those in our lives, and we don't.
Yeah, we do. It's a sad thing. I just gave this advice. I don't like the word advice because I don't like giving advice. I like having people discover a path, right? But I was on with a group yesterday I was speaking with, and after I talk about my code of trust and unbreakable alliances and the behaviors behind these things, she had a really poignant question, which I think is very relevant here. She goes, I have a 15-year-old son that is really struggling. He wants to do X, Y, and Z with his life. He wants to go in the military, but he's like 300 pounds overweight. And I'm trying so hard, but he's not listening to me. And every time I tell him to do this, he says he will and he doesn't. Every time I tell him to do this, if you want to do it, and she says, "You have any advice? What do I do when I can't get someone to do what I want them to do because this is what they said they want to do?" Which is something we all face, right? All of us, whether it's someone in our lives, that's professional, personal. And I said, here's what I've done with my kids, and here's what I do with everyone in my life. I am the loving critic. So here's what a loving critic does. I am deeply vested in you and your success on the path that you've chosen to walk. And so what that means is I will be what I call your chief of staff. You say you want to walk to this destination. I will do all I can to help be that resource to discover things, to encourage you to do things, empower you with choices about how to move to that destination. But ultimately, that destination is your choice. And I'm not going to judge whether that choice is right or wrong. You want to give yourself a hobby? This is the toughest hobby you can give yourself in the world. Let go of what you think is right or wrong, because the person right next to you might not think the same. You want to have some curiosity, discover what they think is right or wrong. And the only way you can do that is to let go of what you think. And now we're always going to have it. But if you want to have because this is the art of the conversation, one of the reasons why Charlie was so effective with his following is because he got people to engage in the art of debate. People, we are genetically coded to want to have dialogues and conversations. He was teaching people in a generation that had forgotten how to have a dialogue because they're too busy doing this in sound bites in a 5-second highlight reel. And I'm not putting this down. This is part of a whole. It's a great tool. But when a tool becomes the whole, you're missing the ability to communicate, which we seek and crave. And so give yourself that challenge, because that's what I had to do. And then believe me, I was born in New York City. I grew up in upstate New York. I'm an extrovert. I'm snarky. I as you all can hear, I come up with these lines sometimes. You know, the way I engage at a younger age was majestically failing me as an FBI agent, where I had to recruit sources that might have done really important things. Meanwhile, my objective is to inspire them to confess, to share, to give me information to protect the national security of the United States, and sometimes protect kids from being abused. I mean, so you either get over it or you don't. So the way I did was I just had to learn and practice letting go of my optic of the world, because the world is what it is. You're not going to change the wind blowing. You're not going to change that tree growing. It is what it is. This is the power of now, and Eckhart Tolle talks about that. Again, my Tao Te Ching side comes out, right? Mm-hmm. But what we can control is what we think about what's around us, and realizing that here's where we give another human being the utmost respect you can possibly give. If you put a lot of time and effort to come up with what you believe is right or wrong, that's good, solid, sound, believe in it. But give the respect to the person you're communicating with, the same understanding that they probably put a lot of time and effort into what they think too. Why not have that curiosity, which has really died off, of figuring out what that was and what that is? Doesn't mean you're agreeing with it. I can tell you, both Marr and Charlie Kirk, both of them, I probably agree with about 5 to 10% of both of them. Mm-hmm. I adored them both and still do Marr. Why? Boy, they make you think. Mm-hmm. They just make you think. And when we think and come up, so here's how the brain works. When you are actually challenged to think and you come up with a conclusion to your thoughts that someone gave you, what do you think that does on our brain? It rewards us. The dopamine's flowing, the serotonin, oxytocin, the dopamine, all those things. And then you get addicted to listening to that person, not even agreeing with that person, but that person made me think. Why do I love books? Why do I love reading so much? Because there's a lot of authors I do not like, but you know what? Their content's phenomenal. They make me think. The greatest books you can consume in the world are the ones that make you think, come up with new conclusions, new ideas, and they give you at least 2 more books to read. And so when you're engaging every human being, that is a great hobby to have. Engage a human being, come up with some new things you thought about that you haven't considered before. You don't need to make a friend. You don't have to like them. Just understand them. So understanding how I do what I do, this is how I do what I do. I let go and I just engage.
You know, it's interesting thinking back to my college years, and I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but some of the professors that really pissed me off in the first couple of weeks, like my arguments, my papers, anything I did wasn't enough. It was just like, oh my God, do I need to drop this class? I'm never going to succeed. When you get past that hurdle and go, wait a minute, they're trying to get me to engage in a different thought process. They're trying to make me expand how I think. When you can cross that hurdle and see what they're trying to do and maybe tilt yourself over to where they are, like, okay, I'm going to try to think this way because I've been thinking this way all my life. I need to shift a little bit and see if I can expand it. Suddenly you're seeing everything now. It's not just this one narrow focus. Now you can see other things because you're curious. You're looking around at other things. You're getting somebody else's perspective, which you may not agree with, but maybe you can see where they're coming from. You don't have to change your mind, but just see them. And I think we don't see people anymore. It's just, this is all I see. You know, putting my hands in front of my eyes is just myself, instead of seeing what other people are experiencing.
And now to take it to the next level, and I know I hijacked this away from the whole point of talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination.
This is talking about it because we need this conversation. Nobody's having it.
Because here's what we do next, Stacey, with that. So what's the point of all this? Because some people say, well, if you're just doing this, we're just placating everyone else, or we're just going along or letting people be. So here's where you now take that next step. So say that at the back of your mind, when you're engaging another human being, the first step is to, just like we just said, just let go, just engage, be curious, understand someone where they're at, walk side by side with them where they're at. Now, if along the way you do want to inspire them to think about some new options, some new ideas, the way to inspire someone to have a new idea, to engage in a new thought, or maybe even take a new action is not to buy. Here's the guarantee. You know, my keys of behavior are really simple. The first one is seek the thoughts and opinions of others, not go on and pontificate about your own. Because if you want to inspire someone for action, you want to inspire them to make a change, you want to inspire them to do anything. So I use that word inspire because convincing is about me, inspiration is about them. The first thing you got to do is understand them. And then you just do what I call ask a discovery question. And so when you can now communicate in terms of what's a challenge, priority, or pain point of another human being, validate who they are as a human being by being actively curious. And then when you ask a discovery question, you know, say for instance, you know, Stacey, I really heard what you said about, you know, your college experience. It was really pretty unique and interesting. I'm curious, you know, when you made a decision to do this, what do you think it would have meant if you actually made this choice instead on that path forward in your life? As opposed to saying, Stacey, I think you made all the wrong choices. Why didn't you do this?
Right. Yeah.
You see the difference in that language? The goal is exactly the same thing. I'm hoping to see if I can do something to inspire you to think about a different path and what that might have been for you in your life. And then, because we never, ever plant seeds with people by telling them what we think. The only way to plant a seed with any human being is by asking them what they think. And so this is the kind of communication that has completely gotten obliterated by people taking 5-second highlight reel sound bites off of TikTok. And again, I'm on TikTok all the time. Matter of fact, I know all about Charlie Kirk because I've watched
this will probably be a 5-second highlight reel on TikTok.
And we got a really good nugget. You know, but this is the kind of communication discord, talking about Discord, that people have lost the art of. And that's why this is what I did for so long and still do. It is the greatest joy in the world when you have a great, beautiful conversation. And someone comes back to says this, the greatest validation and gratitude I get from a conversation with someone, Tony, it's why I love you and Stacey so much, being on these shows, you know, like afterwards, I always check in, how did that go? When someone says, Robin, I never heard it quite put that way before. I never thought about that before. Oh my God, I inspired someone to think about something new and different. I want more of that. You know, all the things I do to prep for your show, for everything I do, I'm thinking so hard and deeply, what can I do to inspire someone to think about something in a better, healthy way, to understand someone at a deeper level, to understand the world around them so they can engage in a more healthy way, so we can recognize the unhealthy and make a choice about what we need to do about it. Because that's so key. What's the point of all this? The reason why people watch true crime is so they can feel safe, so they can recognize it, be entertained by recognizing where's the crazy around me so I can avoid crazy. It's like watching a NASCAR race, so I know not to do that.
Yeah. Wow. See, you just made me think. I'm like, wow, God, yeah, he's right. Totally. That's exactly what this is about. It's having a conversation.
Yeah. It's something we need to get better at. How do we get there when we've been we have a generation that's never seen it.
Tune in here.
Yeah. I mean, I 1000% agree. How do we get there? And I think that it's in everything. Every person needs to think about it and do it.
It's modeling the way, you know. And so to the earlier point, back to the case today, what I saw when I was watching the briefing by the governor today, and when Kash Patel got up in a very controlled manner, which kind of shocked me. I mean, I'm seeing things that kind of blew my mind, right? And because again, they deviated from what I was expecting. What I was expecting was contention. I was expecting some posturing. I was expecting some grimaces behind the scenes. You know, that's what we typically see. Yeah. But what I saw was a team come together, modeling the way forward for law enforcement and government organizations to collaborate and work together in a healthy way to move the football of justice down the field extremely rapidly in a case like this. I haven't felt so good about watching justice being continually played out as I've seen in the last 36 hours. I'm not saying it doesn't exist other places, but this is because a lot of people say, well, why the Charlie Kirk case? Well, it's got a very big platform, bigger than I ever even imagined it would have been. But because it has such public attention, everyone was watching that press conference. A lot of people were watching that press conference, law enforcement, citizens, everyone. And what they were doing was modeling the way for what everyone else should be doing to come together to solve life's most complex, horrendous crimes in a healthy, strategic, leadership-based way, so we can start moving through because the faster we move through these things, and remember, again, as a species, we gravitate towards positivity, not negativity. But what happens when the lack of positivity is around us, we're going to revert to anything we can get. Mm-hmm. And so if we can start modeling and have some people out there modeling, hey, no one, like when I was in the Bureau, the FBI now can have it has a connotation, it's like, what side are you on? Mm-hmm. Dude, when I came in, there was no sides. When I was in the FBI during New York City, there was no sides. Mm-hmm. You were ostracized if you didn't have an American flag on your car in New York City. I mean, I remember the day that my flag got blown off the car on the way home on the Palisades Parkway, and I was freaking out because I couldn't get a flag for my car. My neighbors came to my rescue to give me a flag to put on my car because I knew what I was doing and how I had to get down to the city. Because when you went through the checkpoints down in lower Manhattan, I had to have two things on. I had to have my lights on to show I was law enforcement because, oh my God, I got my goosebumps going. Because all this happened during 9/11 as well. I mean, you're talking about the last couple of 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
My windows had to be rolled down. The streets on the West Side Highway getting down to the site, but you had people standing on the sides, all ages, kids, mothers, fathers, holding up signs. Please find Daddy. Thank you for saving America. I didn't know politics. It was everyone. And as you're getting lined up to get through the checkpoint, the windows are down because volunteers are throwing bottles of water. They're throwing masks. How many people have died from? I'm on the monitoring thing because my lungs from being down at ground zero. Mm-hmm. People are throwing gas masks, oxygen masks, filters through the windows. They're giving. I still have notes from children that made handmade sandwiches. Thanking me for what I'm doing. It was just that is what was effective. That was because we were communicating, we're solving a problem. There was no politics. I never knew anyone's politics until the last 5 years of my career.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
And it didn't matter because
it didn't.
Everyone was human, and that's what mattered. Safe. Yeah.
And we've seen on social media, and I hate to bring this up, but people talking about almost lamenting that. Not that we want anything bad to happen in this country, but the unity that we felt on 9/11, 2001, that night, and for the days afterwards.
Yeah, for the years after.
Yeah, there was just this camaraderie that we were all in this together. We're going to get through it together. And what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you get through this?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And now, can I drop an F-bomb? We don't give a fuck now about the person next to us. It's just, what can I do to make my life better?
Do we not, or is that what we fear and then we believe it and we jump to that absolute that nobody gives a fuck when actually a lot of people give a fuck.
You're right.
But we're afraid to express it and then we feel this emptiness that's not really there. Cause I think a lot of us are doing that. But I think that's basically, it's catastrophizing something to such an extreme, but it feels so real. And then it gets reinforced over time. But I don't think that's the reality with most people.
I hope
but it certainly is how it feels a lot right now.
And here's what our politicians are doing. Both sides. Mm-hmm. And it happened during this thing too. Every time one of these horrendous things happen in the last bunch of years, what happens? Everyone's pointing fingers. They're radicalized by the left. They're radicalized by the right. Everyone immediately starts pointing finger as large swaths of people, and they miss the entire point. Yeah. No, the only enemy here was that one friggin' broken brain moron that just killed someone. That is the only person that's an enemy here. They were going to kill someone no matter what. Mm-hmm. Because they got radicalized, because they're feeling disenfranchised. The social media, all the arcs of a lone shooter, exactly. It doesn't matter what beliefs, it could have been completely flipped on the other side of who he liked or didn't like. It didn't matter. He was going to do what he's going to do. That is the enemy. The enemy was the person that made a choice to kill someone, and their system of broken brain, escalation, red flags flying, all those things. That's what it was. There's no side that was wrong here, because when we keep thinking that, it will never move on from that. You know, like I said, tribes are fine, but if you're not curious, I mean, think about it. We've had tribes. We've had, you know, George Washington is elected first president of the United States. You know what happened 2 minutes after he's elected? 2 parties formed. Here's the guy that just made our country, and within seconds of him being elected, half the country's like, you're wrong.
And it's been that way ever since.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's okay, but only in recent years did it start getting nutso.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna actually, so now I'm gonna throw on my counterintelligence hat here. I know, and they actually were making reference to this. The governor last night was talking about this on the press conference. So what our foreign adversaries do in times like this is use active measures. And so Russia and China and other horrendous countries out there, and I say horrendous, they're not horrendous. The nation state itself that wants to have us dissolve and crumble upon ourselves, like it looks like we're on that, like you said, that Matchbox is, they will see opportunities like this to get their bots going, to fuel the fire. And so that's exactly what happens in moments like this, because, and here's why, and how do you know it? Because when we can actually sit down and have a one-on-one dialogue with someone from any political affiliation, so imagine this: you don't know someone's political affiliation, and you sit down and just have a conversation with them about life, liberty, and the pursuit of their own happiness. Can you have a connection with 99% of the people? Yeah, because that's it. So these other things on the media come in there and they grab you and they try to get you inflamed, and what a mess.
Don't believe the hate.
Find the greatness. Everyone's got it. Just find that. There's a hobby for you too. Find the greatest in others. Who doesn't work around people that annoys the living piss out of you? I had a mantra inside the bureau when I was working was I never allowed anyone to bother me, because it's easy to have people bother me. People bother me all the time. But if someone bothered me, that was my new hobby. I'm going to find a way that you will no longer bother me. In other words, I will make a connection. I will find that greatness. I will find what we have in common. And I'll tell you what, each and every single times that someone started out in that bothering me, first of all, you got to own it. What did I do to trigger a trauma response in them that made them feel insecure around me, to had them communicate in a way which was kind of ick, right? So I own my own behavior, what I did to possibly cause that. And then, we kind of move on from there, whether it's me, them, whatever. But the next thing I'm doing is, what do we have in common that we can talk about? So we're not talking about the stuff that annoys the living piss out of me coming out of your mouth. See, there's Robin being very real, right? And you know what it always is? Being a parent, being a son, being a daughter, being a human being. Just if you don't like what they do at work, then don't talk about work with them. Find something else. It is so easy to find that greatness in others. And now here's where you make that connection. When you find that greatness, and you'll see their eyes kind of spark up and light up, get a little eyebrow flash there, the nonverbals of high comfort that they like that topic. And then you say, wow, I will double down, instead of doubling down on stupid, like I keep talking about, double down on what makes them feel great, and let them know by you communicating in terms of that you see it, you see that in them. You're now the person they can't wait to see walk around that corner. Because here's a guarantee: if they're annoying the piss out of you, they're annoying the piss out of everyone, most likely. And if you're that one person that can actually make that touch point, the likelihood of them on that arc of negativity and escalation towards unhealthy crazy that begets a lot of violence, you might have just mitigated that. That's where we can all make a difference. Find the greatness. Great advice, as always, Robin. And if you've been watching this going, I could use a hell of a lot more of that. Yes. He's got books. I got him right here. Sizing people up.
I bought one.
Alliances.
I've been starting to read it.
Code of Trust. They're all great. And the audiobooks are great too, because you do the voiceover on them too. And they're phenomenal. You have such great insight, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate having you on, especially in times like this, to be that voice of reason. As Dan Rather said, steady when things are like. Yeah. So I know Todd I can hear Todd laughing. Steady. Yes. I get my goosebumps. No emergency takeoff. Yeah. All right, Robin, thank you so much for being here. Of course, we'll talk again next week on I'm sure, some of this and many other things. As always, thank you for being part of the program. We're going to go to the press conference here in just a few seconds so you can see exactly what went down just earlier this morning. And then after that, we're going to wrap up the week on a different note. It's a story of a fish, an Amish family, and it doesn't end well. And it's something we really shouldn't be laughing about, but it's tragic without a doubt. But it is something to, I think, maybe take our minds off of this extreme darkness that we've been on. I think we could all just take a quick breather. That's coming up. Let's go to the press conference right now and take a look at what they are saying of the suspect that they have now in custody.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I'll share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point. Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao. And a third unfired casing read, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play. We will play that role, and we will lead after the federal government. Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, process that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great, and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is a very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need. is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody that has stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I hit the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere. And every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, And remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens. And for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for. Just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. God, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. He said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He said, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. and I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Governor, can you please speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that.
Governor, how do you interpret his motivation? Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on the case of
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you talked about this level of hatred that this person expressed at a dinner. Beyond that, is there anything in your view that you've discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific act?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
Do you believe he acted alone?
Yes, but the investigation is ongoing.
Can you tell more about the family, what they had to say about the suspect?
How he came into custody of police and where he is right now with drugs?
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him.
Can you tell more about what the family is saying about Tyler Robinson?
I can't share any more than what I've already shared.
Is he talking
Governor,
about
do you have
authorities?
details on how he got back to Washington County and how the gun was obtained?
So how we obtained the gun? The gun was found.
How the shooter obtained the gun and how the shooter then was able to get back to Washington.
So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry?
Did the suspect plan to carry out any other attacks?
We don't have any information that
Are you going to be
like
releasing the mugshot?
Yes, in fact, it was just released.
Is
Yes.
he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now.
Can you clarify?
You've spoken very eloquently about trying to reunite this country. Do you feel that this is a watershed in American history?
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s. And having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets, we are not wired as human beings biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion tonight, last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. But this is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Could we clarify that the release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m., the timeline that Director Patel gave us, led to the arrest at 10 p.m.? Is there a direct connection between those two events?
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct.
Just clarify this.
Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here.
You said that the suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about where, and was he a student here at this university, and is there any history of mental illness?
Yeah. I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I would just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more deep information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
That is the press conference that was held earlier today addressing the arrest of the suspect, of the assassin of Charlie Kirk. And I see what Robin was talking about when we were talking earlier. There was a lot of positivity in there. There was certainly a call of let's de-escalate, not escalate this further. I thought it felt that felt good. That felt good to see that. We're going to move on to a different topic now. Believe it or not, take a deep breath, everybody. Every now and then you get a case that comes along that sounds less like a crime report and more like a twisted parable out of some sort of dark scripture. This one begins at a quiet Ohio lake with an Amish family on what should have been a simple camping trip. By the end of the day, 2 members of that family were dead, a father and his 4-year-old son, and their mother was calmly telling police that her husband was at the bottom of the lake in a fish. We'll have video of that for you in just a few moments. It's the story of Ruth Miller that we're going to be talking about today, a mother accused of drowning her own child. A wife who watched her husband walk into the water and never come back, and a woman whose chilling words caught on Bodycam leave us with the uncomfortable question, was this insanity or was it belief taken to its furthest, most destructive extreme? We're going to dig into what happened at Atwood Lake, the disturbing details from the Bodycam footage and the larger cultural context that might explain how someone could come to believe and act on something so shocking, because when faith and delusion collide, the results can be quite deadly. So let's jump into this. It was August 23rd of this year in Tuscarawas County, Ohio, where Ruth Miller, who's 40 years old, her husband Marcus, and their 4 kids, 3 teenagers, and little Vincent, only 4, took what looked like a simple camping trip at Atwood Lake. But it wasn't just a family weekend. The Millers were unraveling under the weight of something. Religious delusion. They weren't fishing. They weren't hiking. They were preparing for what they believed was some kind of test from God, in which they went out into the lake, mom and dad, and, well, only mom came back. Dad went in, and it appears that he drowned himself. Mom went and drowned the 4-year-old, and then took a golf cart, loaded up the teens, and drove that off a pier too. The teens survived, and so did mom. Todd and Stacy, this isn't some stereotypical strict Amish thing that was going on here. I mean, this is, it feels like this is kind of what happens when your faith kind of flips into some sort of delusion here. What do you guys make of that line here between devotion and danger?
It's an interesting combination between submitting to the will of God and having a mental illness meltdown. And I don't know, and I want to tread lightly. I'm a religion major. I went to college in the 80s, where it was just believed that you need to get a college degree. Actually, I graduated in 93, so let me move that forward a little bit. You get a college degree, go get it in something that fascinates you, and then figure out what you want to do for a living afterwards. So religion fascinated me, and it was religions of the world. We didn't touch very much on the Amish culture, but what we did touch on was sometimes these lines get blurred a little bit. It's
a little bit.
Trying to tread lightly, but submitting to the will of God is a huge facet of this religion. And I don't know where you hear the voice of God in your head, or is it the little voice in your head that shouldn't be there because there's a problem? You know what I mean? And when those two intersect, I think you run into a huge problem. And it's not that they shun the outside society, but they don't readily have computers at their desk where you can just log in and meet with your therapist every week. So mental health care is not something that they have traditionally invited into their world. And so if you are hearing those little voices, that little voice sitting, tapping into your ear going, drown your family, how do you shut that out? How do you ask for help in that community? You don't.
And how do you decipher if this is what you've been hearing your whole life, and most of the time it's telling you, go make a sandwich for the family, and then the next time it's go drown the kids, drive a golf cart off of the. Who knew they use golf carts? I guess.
And I wanted to bring that up too, because there are different. Is it a sect?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the version of this is. I know there are different variants depending on what it is.
So I'm wondering how purely Amish they were, because a golf cart, that's not fitting the scenario.
Well, there's some that drive car. I mean, there's men. I mean, I don't know exactly what it was, and it's kind of beside the point. But when you're having this sort of delusion, and you think you're hearing voices, and I'm not saying you can't be religious or you can't believe in God or anything. I'm just saying, he's not having a verbal conversation with you in your head. That's not typically how that works. And if you're experiencing that there's something that's not working right, and that's not that if it's telling you to go, drown the family. But again, how do you know?
That's my point. How do you decipher between those two voices that you're hearing, your spiritual, faithful self, and your mentally incapacitated self? When those two intersect, it's a really scary thing.
Well, I would think that someone who had deep religious beliefs might bring that up to a church leader and say, hey, I'm getting, what I think are messages from whatever higher power it is, and they're telling me this. Hopefully, that religious leader would take a step back and say, well, maybe we should look at this a little bit, because I'm not sure that your higher being would want you to necessarily do that. Yes, there were stories in the Bible of this, on and off. But yeah, we should have somebody really look at this. I would hope that the religious leader would do that.
Are they, or is the answer going to be more like, oh, I heard the same thing too? Not necessarily like go drown your kids, but like, oh, listen. I mean, I don't know what the answer would be. Probably depends on who that leader is and what their thoughts are at that moment of, follow what he says, and assuming that it's not telling you to go drown your family.
Right.
But this seems like this was somewhat of an impulsive type thing, maybe that took place. In fact, we have some video here. Do we have it ready, Todd?
We do.
Of Mom. This is, let's watch for ourselves here. This is the clip of basically the authorities there, and she reiterating what happened. Take a look.
I gave him to God.
You gave him to God?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I threw him in the lake and I gave him to God. And people are going to tell me I am crazy, but he is real. And he loves you. He really does love you. He loves you. And I doubted him. I doubted him so many times. But I am to tell you, he is coming soon. He is coming very soon. Prepare your hearts. The end is close. And I'm for sure supposed to tell you that he does love you.
And can you explain to me what happened? Who did you throw in the water?
I gave my son to God.
Your son?
Yes.
Where's your husband?
He went for a walk this morning.
And you haven't seen him
He
since?
didn't ever come back. And we went to the boat and his clothes were there. And God told me he's in the lake and a fish swallowed him. And you're actually supposed to go look for him in the bottom of the lake. And you will find the fish. And you will find my husband.
I need to know where your husband's at.
He's at the bottom of the lake in a fish.
He's in a fish.
Yes.
There's no fish large enough on an Atwood to swallow your husband.
He's at the bottom of the lake. Oh, this woman. It is true. But I'm telling you, people are doubting. And it's getting harder for me to stay strong. Please show him that it is true what I'm telling you. That there is a fish in the bottom of the lake. Please never take me to sit with my children under the tree that you have created.
Is she psychotic? Is she trying to get everybody to be on her side as this Amish woman who has this belief system, and is she using it to her advantage of she's crazy, but her belief system made her do this when maybe she had another motive for I don't know. I mean, her husband willingly went out there and did this too. So she didn't go out and kill her husband in the lake. She killed the baby after her husband seemingly drowned himself. What the hell is going on here?
I feel like, boy, I'm treading lightly. I feel like they've led themselves down a very strange path. That somebody believed something and talked everybody else into it. I don't know that she's like some mass serial killer.
I think she's a mass serial killer. The only thing that ran through my mind, it was like, and I have no idea the answer to this question. This is pure speculation, but because everything happens, basically behind closed doors in these communities, and abuse is rampant in so many of them, especially towards women. Like it or not, it is. It's just a fact. I don't really give a shit if you want to say it's not. It is. With that being the reality in some of these communities, my thought was, did she snap? But looks like the husband willingly went in there and drowned himself. So it wasn't like I accidentally, ran him over with the plow, and because this is something very different than that. So it really makes me wonder, is she insane? Coffin Daffer made a point on X the other day on this. She said there are many people who claim to be insane. Under the law, you must understand right from wrong. I don't think this woman understands right from wrong.
No, and I think that's where things are getting blurred, that she is relying on religion for her beliefs, and therefore if God told her to do this, it was the right thing to do. I think if you were to put her on a lie detector, which, take it or leave it, she believes she did the right thing. Watching this, she is trying to convince other people that you need to listen to me. This is the word of God. And I don't see like her eyes twitching, like she's trying to figure things out. Like, how can I tell this person one thing? No, this is coming from inside of her. I think she truly believes this.
But also, again, there's another piece here. It's not just her taking her baby out or driving the golf cart with the teens in. Here's a man who actually went out and committed suicide, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So is there mental health issues in the entire family? I mean,
is it a mental health issue if this is you believe and this is the way that you have been operating in your belief system for all these years? The end times are coming. This is going to happen. And then eventually you get pushed over the edge because your own echo chamber, basically your brain boiled over and said, this is the voices are telling us to do this.
It's not different from what Robin was talking about earlier, being in our tribes and not hearing outside information and taking that into consider.
It's exactly that. Yeah. I mean, it is exactly that basically happened, in real time in a very different way, because the outside looking in, it's like, this isn't like, how would anyone think this? But did you hear her when she was on the ground there?
Yes.
And she was praying. I don't know who was with her. It looked like an emergency response worker. And, but she was saying, you have to believe me. He's in a fish. Like that seemed, she was trying to convince the person that they were in a fish. That's what I found that a little odd. Of like, why are you pushing the narrative that they have to believe they're in a fish? We know they're dead. We know that you drowned your baby. We know that your husband committed suicide. But why this in a fish narrative piece? What is that?
I wonder if it is a biblical reference of some sort.
That's what I was thinking too, Stacy. Yeah.
Like the Jonah thing.
Taking it very literally, and I go back to Lori Daybell being, we know that she is a master manipulator. We know that about her. But also, is there this facet that she thinks that the way to the next world is through death, and that you're giving these people to your higher power, and that death is not a bad thing. It's the next phase. It's the next step. So instead, I don't know. I don't know, because I've seen some religious zealots in my life where you look at them and go, God, you're crazy. But then you look at it and they live their entire life through that lens. That's how it's a lifestyle. Just like people who love country music and go to festivals on the weekend and wear the hat and the boots. It's the same thing. It is through their entire life. They've got the bumper sticker. They go to temple or whatever they go to couple times a week. They drop off flyers and leaflets to people. I don't know. I've seen it. And that's where I'm getting the perspective. Yeah, she looks nuts. Yeah. We're being ethnocentric here. This is based on what our belief system is. They believe something entirely different.
We got a comment, and I've not heard that before. Is that true? Do we know that to be fact, that the Amish aren't allowed to read the Bible? I'm going to Google
they rely on the book of Revelation, if I remember correctly. It's not that they aren't allowed to read it, but they don't read it. They don't rely heavily on the text. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a long time for me.
Google says they are allowed to read the Bible.
Yeah, they can read it, but they don't read it as religiously as other religions do. At least from what I remember, they're not.
Here's the answer. The Amish are allowed to read the Bible, but it's how it's read, interpreted, and used depends on the community.
Correct.
And the tradition. So one community over here could interpret it this way, and another one over here can interpret it that way. And if you get like a bad interpretation, or you get somebody who's going to use it in their community for their own negativity or their own needs or something, that's how you can get some really, really bad communities.
Well, and it's like
and you have great ones too, I'm sure. But yeah. I mean, it's basically unchecked.
And what if their spiritual leader has some mental illness as well?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. It's an unchecked cult.
100%. I don't know where you go from there. These communities are very tightly woven together. They don't go outside of them.
Yeah.
If you've got some genes in that community that shouldn't be passed on because of illness, they're being passed on.
Well, and you also have the and this is just what we're seeing here. Like, we don't really normally see things because they police everything for themselves. Correct. And I know this is not necessarily normal behavior for the Amish. I get that. I know they're not out there drowning themselves in mass, and I'm in no way saying that. But there is a lot of dark shit that goes on in these communities that nobody ever hears about because it is so insulated. It's all unchecked, and it varies from community to community. Here's what the their attorney had to say about the matter. Take a look.
We entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity today because based upon the facts of this case, it's very evident that it is fitting. This case would not have happened but for a mental defect that would have prevented Ms. Miller from appreciating the wrongfulness of her conduct.
What happened on that day in your estimation?
Well, there clearly was a serious mental disease that she faced. It was evident to the responding officers, the first responders. And unfortunately, it was a tragedy that happened that day. Again, clearly would not have happened but for.
If she is found not guilty by reason of insanity, what happens?
Oh, that would be up to the judge, but there would be, it's not as people generally think that if someone's found not guilty by reason of insanity, they're just released to the street. They're released to the custody of a lockdown hospital. They are held until a court is convinced that they've been rehabilitated, their safety to themselves and to the community. So it still is a long term of supervision and work.
Did she not admit to doing that?
Well, I don't think that this is an issue of a whodunit. I think everyone recognizes the fact that she did do it, but that's just one part of it. That's the act. The big question in this case is the why it was done, and that's what this whole case is going to be about: is the why. How did this happen?
I know you cannot say everything she said, but has she shared with you her feelings about what happened on the 23rd?
Well, she's obviously devastated by what occurred. This is not something by any stretch of the imagination where we could think that someone would wake up and destroy not just their life but the life of their child. I mean, something is wrong, and that's what we're getting to the bottom of now. But obviously she's devastated with what's happened. She is, her family is, everyone is.
Has the family and the Amish community, are they supporting her through this? I know they tried to help her and her husband.
Yeah, so what we have received is support from family and from community members who have known her entire life. What happened on August 23rd, that person is not the person that they know. That's the person that they all believe was the victim of a mental health episode. And so they're supportive of her and want to know also how could this have happened, and look at her as a victim of mental health. We all know that mental health is a tremendous issue in the community, and we saw it here clear as day, and we saw it in its worst form as to what could happen to someone facing a mental health issue, and certainly unchecked.
Can you speak to what may have precipitated her mental episode as you might describe it?
What do you mean, what may have precipitated it?
Why on that day did she go out, admittedly, and toss her child into the lake?
Yeah, so I think what we have, and I think you've seen them, I know your station has seen them also and posted them, the body cams from the first responders, we see in real time, we saw raw footage of what was going on in her mind and what she was reacting to and so forth. I think this case, what you're going to see in this case is one centered around mental health, and you're going to see the input of many different experts in many different fields who are going to be talking about that exact question that you just posed. So I think what we're going to need on this is time to really figure it out, and just making a quick statement would be nothing beyond speculation.
Did the judge just set the bond hearing? Can you tell us when that is?
Yeah, so we did just set the bond hearing. That's going to be September 25th at 1 o'clock. And what you should expect at that hearing is going to be not just your kind of typical argument of, why someone should be out, but evidence that addresses the factors that the court's going to consider. So I would expect at that hearing, as evidenced by the motion that will be filed here momentarily, that evidence will be put on certainly by the defense. We'll be calling family members of Ruth Miller's. We'll be calling members of the Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Department and also mental health professionals from the Cleveland Clinic.
Thank you.
Can you give us your name again, please?
Yeah, Ian Friedman and Madeline Grant, both counsel for Ruth Miller.
Ian, will you be seeking some kind of bond?
We will, yes. We will be seeking a bond, yes.
You have a specified amount yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. You will be trying to arrange for a release at the conclusion of the hearing.
We will.
And what can you tell us, and I understand there's confidentiality in play, but do we have any information of what medical treatment she may be getting for her condition at this point?
Yeah, so that at this point has to remain confidential. Okay. But I think through the course of these hearings, again, because they're based on mental health issues, you'll be having some of your questions answered in the courtroom.
And are you able to tell us any kind of motions you may be making on obtaining medical treatment for her?
So with the not guilty by reason of insanity, one should expect that different professionals will be now visiting with Ruth, both for the state and the defense, and rendering opinions in the case. From there, we'll be filing responsive pleadings.
And then what about the issue whether she's competent to stand trial and assist her in her defense? I think that's separate from an NGRI, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So that is separate. The issue of competency may still be raised in the coming days.
Okay, so that's a separate issue. You may raise that. You just haven't yet. So
correct.
Okay.
Did her family try to help her seek any mental counseling or guidance before the incident?
So I don't want to make a comment on that. Again, I think that's one of the issues that will be coming out in the courtroom. All right.
Did you have a chance to consult your client before today?
Oh, we've been preparing for this with the assistance of our client, Ruth Miller. That simply is letting her know what's going on and so forth. But this is a big process. It's overwhelming for her. So we're just trying to make sure that she understands it and that her needs are being taken care of. Because she's sitting in a jail cell. She's lost a child as a result of this. So a lot of this is making sure that she's taken care of.
Has the law enforcement, the prosecutor's office, have they treated your client fairly?
They have. So I have to give kudos to the Tuscarawas County Prosecutor's Office and the Sheriff's Department for their professionalism. We've been working well with them, and I think everyone's going to remain focused on what's important in this case, and that is the mental state of Ruth Miller at the time that she lost her child.
Since her release from the hospital, has she had, a come-to moment where she hit her the realization that what she did and that she lost her child?
I think the magnitude of this is so great that that's going to take some time. I think this is all a process. And the realization today is going to look very different from what it may a day or even a week from now. I mean, this is a nightmare that no parent ever wants to face, and made worse by the fact that, she was there. She was present for this. She was part of this. Whether or not she was mentally stable at the time and so forth, regardless of that, she recognizes the fact that, she was there, and this is crushing to her.
How long was she in the hospital again?
A few days.
A few days after her arrest?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So,
are you able to tell us anything about that stay? And
no.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Can you say which hospital?
Yeah, you'll see subpoenas. Excuse me, these bugs are coming out. Subpoenas will be issued here shortly, by tomorrow, actually, and you'll see who's being subpoenaed. And then I think 2 and 2 will be put together. I don't have any problem saying it was the Cleveland Clinic system, but specifics and treatment providers and so forth, those will be listed out by way of subpoena. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Did you have any other updates on the other kids that were involved with the golf cart, how they're doing at all?
Yeah, I don't want to make any comments on the kids. Everyone's struggling right now with what's going on. Thank you for asking, though.
And you're very well known in the area, but are you able to talk about how you were retained in this case?
No. All I'll say is that we, Attorney Grant and I are on board, and we will see this through to the very end.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So assuming she believes that she was doing, God's work and that this is what he told her to do, what makes her any different than Lori Vallow Daybell? And I mean that in two different ways, and I'm throwing it out there. Because Lori Vallow Daybell had every opportunity in life of an outside world that she lived in, and the normal and like society, they don't. She had every opportunity in that sort of a world not to go down the path of, religious, extremism to which she did. These people were brought up in it. Like, this is all they've known their entire life. So when they act out in some sort of way that's extreme and horrible, but also religiously based to an extreme, we look at it a little bit different. I mean, it feels like at the end of the day, people are dead because they believed that their God told them to kill people, or this is what they want them to do.
It's the frog in the pot theory.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they are escalating toward this eventuality. And I don't know, unless they break out of this, I don't know how do you if
you don't know anything other than it, that's
and they do have a time where they actually do leave their community. It's almost, I think is it a requirement? I don't remember.
I don't know. That's going to be my question to you. Is it a requirement? Does everybody leave, or do some say, I'm good?
Boy, it's been such a long time since I've studied them. I think it's a choice that they are allowed to go if they want to. But a lot of them come back.
Yeah. And that's fine. I'm not, it's when things are not going awry and people aren't being abused and all that, like, you can believe whatever you want, but my concern in all that is always just the rampant abuse, and then obviously the isolation is not good at the end of the day, or is it? I mean, I guess one can make the argument sometimes of, who's living a happier life if you're not being abused over there, and it's just more simple, and you're good, then you're good, I guess.
Didn't we just talk about with Robin what it would be like to kind of go back to the way we used to do things? These people sit at a table and communicate with each other without their phones in their hands. They don't have phones. They actually talk and they have community.
It's not the Hallmark Hall of Fame version of it in our mind.
No, it's not.
Okay. It's not. They're not sitting down, pause at the table. Oh, I don't. I mean, I'm sure there's some nice moments, but it ain't that.
No, it's not.
So let's not kid ourselves and think it's something on a postcard.
Right.
I find it interesting that again, we don't know everything about this. It's hard. We're just speculating. We're giving some opinion on this, but she doesn't seem right.
No.
But still, at some point, the religion plays a factor into it. And does she get is there any thought process to that? Does she get any leeway because it may have been influenced by her religion?
Would she have seemed right if we were talking to her about not killing her family? I mean, if there was, if you just walked over and it was like a normal Tuesday afternoon and you just happened to stop in, I mean, would that conversation have also seemed right? What other weird things what other beliefs are there that are not right? I mean, and I'm not saying right because they disagree with me or this, but like not right with reality of you can believe that you just sacrificed your children to God or whatever. You can't go kill them, which you did, but you can't really, there ain't no part of that belief system that officiate your family. That's complete delusion. I mean, killing your family for God is also a complete delusion, but that one, I think, you can prove the dead people aren't in the fish.
There's a lot of killing in the name of religion.
It's all in the name.
I know. And so, it's so hard to take this one isolated case and just say, she's psychotic. And then if we do go back to Lori Daybell, she's nuts. But
she's in her belief, she was doing what, like she said at her many trials,
exactly.
The kids are working up at the Fleet Farm in heaven.
Right. I mean, I'm putting my experience over hers and saying she's nuts. She probably looks at me and goes, "Oh, that lady is a wackadoo."
Exactly. It's all perspective.
So it is
Stacey,
perspective.
let's be honest. Sometimes I think Tony and I feel that way about you.
I know that for a fact.
That's a fairly regular feeling. But, you know,
hang on.
hold up your fish.
I went to a lot of trouble to charge this damn thing.
You did. Working?
Oh, no. Oh, no, it's not working.
Your electronic fish is not working.
Here.
He's in the fish.
It's a cat toy. So I thought a little prop might be interesting.
Who enjoys that? Who enjoys that more in your house, the cats or you?
Oh, it's me. It's me. I'm a little sad though. It hasn't been charged in a while, and it actually you can plug it in. I mean, this is like a high-tech fish, you guys.
Oh, you got to plug it in then.
Well, I had it plugged in during Robin, and it's still not working.
That fish needs a greater charge, or the cats completely killed it.
That's a possibility.
If you're listening to us and not seeing all of this, you can watch it on YouTube. Just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. When we were earlier in the day getting ready to go on, and we're talking, okay, we're going to do the Amish story of the fish. Stacey's like, I got fish.
I'm in Wisconsin. How do I not have fish cat toys? I mean, everything is like fishing and hunting here. So,
does anyone still own a Billy Bass?
Oh, they're around.
There was one in the basement of the house as I was packing my shit to get out. I left it because I wasn't bringing that.
You didn't want the Billy Bass. Yeah.
What's really ironic is there's a song called "Take Me to the River."
It's a great song.
Yeah. And it did well on the charts, but it actually got a resurgence on the charts because of the Billy Bass. So I just found that out yesterday, just ironically. So I thought I'd throw that out. She had the fish. I had the anecdote.
No. You need to explain a little more. Where did that come from? How did you find that out? What were you doing that you learned that information?
Literally just doing a things you didn't know kind of thing. I do a feature on a radio show that I still do some stuff on. And so that came up and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. We're just talking about the lady and her husband's in a fish.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do that segment at the end every day. Todd, what did you learn yesterday?
Well, apparently, Al Green's "Take Me to the River" was a big hit.
I didn't know it was Al Green. I didn't realize it was Al Green.
Al Green was the one who originally did the song.
Wow, I didn't know that either. See, now we learned something.
Now you know something because of me.
We have a restaurant here as a seafood restaurant, and they have like gazillions of these fishes. And I think they were open like in the 90s when it was a thing, and it's like just walls of Billy Bass.
Do they go off?
No.
The batteries are so dead by now.
I'd imagine if you were to open some up, you'd have like the battery corroding because I can't imagine that there's just too many. There could be more than 1,000 in that place. It's like, holy shit, Billy Bass. Yeah.
It's probably just a compulsion that got out of control. And now they're like, we're just going to lean into it.
I don't know if like people brought in their Billy Basses or how it came about, but
it's like a donation site.
Yeah. Like when everybody got rid of it, it's like bring it to the restaurant and then they found a spot for it.
That's fun.
Yeah. The Billy Bass. I think it's time for I think America could use a Billy Bass.
we need something like, remember all the Beanie Baby crap and we need something like that. Instead of guns, let's focus on Billy Bass.
I agree. We should start collecting those more.
Yeah.
I think we've solved America's problems this week with Billy Bass. I'm glad that we're ending on that note.
Me too.
All right. I'm not going to watch news for 2 days. I'm going to take a long mental break and then come back Monday, hopefully refreshed. And I hope everybody is able to do the same to whatever extent you need to do. Thank you guys for watching this week. Be sure to press subscribe so you don't miss any of the coverage that we got on this and in all the cases that we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. Have a good weekend, everybody. For Todd and Stacey, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.